Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of Media Matters for Anfield Index. Hopefully you're all safe from the storm and the blowing gales that are coming around, but there was nothing that could keep Bournemouth away from the Hurricane Reds, could they, yesterday, as an absolute thumping, which may have looked a little bit different at half-time, but there's plenty to discuss as ever. And I'm pleased as ever to be delighted by the renowned and respected David Lynch. David, how are we?
Yeah, good. Really looking forward to this one. A really convincing one. So yeah, loads of good things to get into about this one. And Liverpool flying at the minute, so great.
Yeah, still crazy how we're nearly at February and the Reds are 5 points clear at the top. And it was by definition, a Super Sunday there at the Vitality. 0-0 at half-time, 4-0 by the end. Jota and Núñez helping themselves to doubles. It could be a bit mixed, this one, but what were your honest thoughts on the performance?
Yeah, I thought first half, even though they come in at 0-0, I still thought there was a lot of positives there. I thought Liverpool looked really controlled. They were getting into good areas, and we just saw a couple of sort of, poor passes in moments where it just needed a little bit more composure. Because, like I say, I thought they were controlling things. Bournemouth had that really good start, and they had a really good sort of opening 10 minutes, and that was difficult. But I thought once Liverpool got past that, they were dominating possession. They were winning it in good areas. They were winning the midfield battle completely. And I thought we're very much on top, but just lacking that little moment of composure in the final third, and promising moments were just coming to nothing because maybe we're taking on a shot from long range rather than finding the pass, or just making sort of wrong decisions. But I wasn't sort of massively worried about the way Liverpool play. And I thought, if Bournemouth were going to go on and win it and be a real threat in the second half, they would have had to up things massively, and they didn't really show signs of that. And then obviously, when you come out of the second half and score as early as they did, then I was pretty convinced from that point that Liverpool were going to win, because I'd seen enough in the performance up to that point. And obviously then Bournemouth have to open up a little bit as well. So that made it much easier for Liverpool. That first goal is always important. And in the end, I think, overall, you take the 90 minutes, I think, arguably one of the best performances of the season. As I say, I still took a lot of positives from the first half, even though it wasn't perfect. And then I think when you throw in that second half performance as well, as I say, possibly one of the most convincing performances of the season. And the fact that Liverpool are doing it now at this point when they're 5 points clear in the Premier League and the second half of the season's coming up, that's incredibly encouraging, because performances are now matching results, and we're, you're looking at maybe Liverpool getting on a real run of hopefully reeling off some wins. And if they can do that, it's a great time of the season to do it.
Yeah, there's that myth that Liverpool are just getting over the line, but 4 goals against Newcastle, 4 goals here as well. They are playing some great stuff at the moment. It'd be easy just to go to the forward line because there's 2 players that got doubles when people are looking at man of the match, but there were some really good performances, like in various positions. Who did you give the nod to in the end, personally?
Yeah, my man of the match was McAllister. I think, possibly harsh on the forwards, probably Jota in particular, because he also gets an assist, but I just thought McAllister, I thought maybe his best performance at Liverpool yet. Massive part of the reason why Liverpool was so dominant in midfield. I think he wins 12 out of 17 duels, 15 recoveries, I think I wrote about. That's the side of the game that people said that he didn't have, that he wasn't combative enough to be a holding midfielder. But he did all that, and he combined it with, I think, what was it, 89% passing accuracy, creates 4 chances, 11 passes into the final third. I can't believe I am actually remembering these off the top of my head, because when I saw the stats, I was like, that, you know what, that matches up with what I saw. So it was, you know, the stats really stood out to me, because it was like, I knew, you know, I felt like he played really well, and I looked at the numbers and he totally backed that up. Both sides of the ball, just massively impressive. And I think, you know, just all that talk about him not being a number 6, you know, Jurgen Klopp's not stupid to keep playing him there if he can't play it. And obviously there was more to come from him, but we're starting to see that now. And I thought, I thought he was absolutely brilliant, a masterclass in midfield. And I really liked him as a player anyway, really enjoyed watching his development, but he really seems to be coming to the fore now. And again, you know, it's true of a lot of players in this Liverpool team, but him in particular, you know, becoming a dominant force in that midfield is massive, and it bodes well for the second half of the season.
Yeah, even when it just wasn't quite happening, he was dictating things in that first half. He was absolutely sensational yesterday. And it is right that we do talk about the forwards, because obviously we've had the worries about Mo Salah being out, but the 2 forwards yesterday, especially Jota and Núñez, I mean, it's fair to say they were on fire?
Yeah, absolutely. I thought Núñez, a little bit first half, he still can see his weaknesses. Sometimes we talk a lot about the fact that he's not perfect, is he? And, you know, he's still doing a great job for Liverpool at the moment. But second half, what the difference was, you know, if you get him in positions where he's a one-touch finish, you know, he's deadly in those areas. I think, you know, some of the problem is sometimes that, you know, a lot of his finishes, he's having a lot of time to think about them. I think if you put him in positions where he's one touch, as I say, you know, we know he can produce in those positions. And I thought, you know, two really good finishes yesterday. Hopefully that's great for his confidence, because to score, you know, he was absolutely positive in terms of what he was doing for the team. You know, I think we spoke about this before in terms of brilliant in turning up with assists, isn't he? Showing real quality in that side of things. His pressing's better, his hold-up plays better. You know, getting more involved in build-up and doing some good things there. But the one thing we wanted was just a few more goals from him. And 1 in 16 is not a good enough return for a player who was getting in the positions he was. So really hopeful that this, you know, can just give him that little confidence boost he needs. Because if he adds goals, he may never need to be Salah level prolific, by the way. But if he adds enough goals to his game with everything else that he provides in terms of assists and hold-up play, then you've got a world-class forward in your hands. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a goal every game at Salah's level at his best in terms of how prolific he is. But he just, you know, if he's getting maybe 1 in 2 or just a little nudge above that, fantastic. You know, that'd be absolutely fantastic for Liverpool, and he would 100% be an absolute net positive for the team then. So really hoping that can give him a boost really in terms of his confidence, and just on Jota as well. He's just world class, isn't he? I don't think, you know, there's no doubt about that. He gets the assist yesterday that breaks the game, and then scores 2 himself. Absolutely deadly in front of goal. I thought again, actually, similar to Núñez, a little bit sloppy in the first half. Yeah. He can be a bit scruffy like that, but that's absolutely fine when you turn up in the second half and make 3 goals happen. You know, it's just crucial that he stays fit, really, because Liverpool massively miss him when he's out, and particularly at the moment with Salah not there. I think Jota's the real go-to man in that attack, and he proved that again yesterday.
Yeah, high praise from Jamie Carragher, calling him the second best finisher he's seen behind Robbie Fowler as well. So, yeah, I wouldn't like to do those analysis, but absolutely unreal, the 2 of them yesterday. And I know we talked about McAllister and, you know, the forward line, the midfield. Konate, I mean, since Arsenal, I don't know what it is. It almost seems like Konate, I don't want to say gone up a level, because that indicates almost dropped down in a way, so to speak. But he does seem on great form at the moment, doesn't he?
Yeah, I think it is fair to say he's gone up a level, because I think he's always been, you know, top class for Liverpool. No question marks over that. The only question mark you'd have was obviously fitness or anything like that. But I think he has, you know, as good as he was, I think he has gone up another level, because, you know, he's winning aerial duels at a Van Dijk-like rate now. So you've basically got Virgil van Dijk there, who's absolutely back to his best, and the guy next to him is doing similar things in terms of his statistics that he's putting up. You know, 8 out of 10 won yesterday in windy conditions where Bournemouth, you know, he could have made it difficult really there. They had the striker in Solanke who'd scored 8 and 8. You know, coming into this, and he's a physical guy, likes to throw himself around, and, you know, Konate just completely dealt with that, and that killed Bournemouth's threat, because Liverpool were also controlling 90% of the match anyway. So Bournemouth's only hope really was that a ball would drop in the box or something would just happen for them. But you have absolutely rock solid at the back there, and Konate was massive with that. And another element of his game, actually, I want to talk about that I think is a big part in terms of him really stepping it up recently. He gets 11 passes into the final third yesterday.
Yeah,
and I think teams have tried in the past and with some success. I think even back recently to maybe the United game where I thought they were always trying to filter possession to Konate because they know how good Van Dijk is on the ball, and maybe he's just been a little bit short of Van Dijk in that element of his game. But 11 passes into final third yesterday, some dribbles out as well. The way he used the ball, I thought was really, really good and kept getting Liverpool on the front foot. So, I mean, the fact he's adding that into his game just shows, he's getting better and better. And you should expect that from young players, but his level was already incredibly high as it was. So, yeah, I just fingers crossed at the moment that he can stay fit, because he's absolutely, number one partner for Virgil van Dijk there. And I think those two at the moment, I would say the best defensive pairing in the Premier League, and they were just absolutely imperious, as you say, yesterday.
That's the big question. That Van Dijk's number one. Do you have Konate personally as the number two centre half in the Premier League? Because people are now looking at that, aren't they? For Liverpool fans have that opinion, no doubt, but people bring Saliba and others. Are you putting Konate right next to Van Dijk in those rankings?
Yeah, I think Saliba, I really, really like him as a player. Don't get me wrong, he's an absolutely unbelievable footballer. But I think it says a lot that Konate keeps him out for France. Deschamps sees those two players up close and knows what he's got there. And I think Saliba, a little bit more of a natural footballer, isn't he? I mean, that touch he pulls off at Anfield in the draw, I'm still thinking about that. It's just, I think that summed him up. He is so class. Relaxed player, the way he plays the game. He's an excellent defender as well. Don't get me wrong. But I think Konate is, for me, just he slightly less able on the ball, but he's adding that into his game now, and everything he does on the defensive side, and in a system as well that doesn't really massively protect him. I mean, when Trent is out there on that right hand side, he has to get through so much work. So he gets so many opportunities to defend, and it's just sheer class in all of them. And for me, he's putting up Van Dijk like numbers, so I think deserves to be compared to him. And the fact that Liverpool have got both of them together is wow. What they're so lucky to have them both.
It's crazy. It just seems like 5-6 months ago, it almost felt like Joel Matip had overtaken him a little bit, so to speak. But just that curve is just going up and up and up, and you're just not concerned when we're defending 2-2 in a weird way anymore, which we do. So, yeah, so many positives. I mean, we have to talk about the negative, and we all sort of held our breath when Konate got that rattle late on, and we certainly weren't ecstatic when Curtis Jones went down as well. Is there any updates on that? Are we awaiting anything?
No, we're just expecting a scan on that today. Klopp seemed kind of positive about it in that, Curtis didn't want to risk it. He felt a little bit of something that's been knocking around this week and just thought, we're 3-0 up, so get me off and let's not risk it. So that's a good sign, I think, in terms of, there's a possibility maybe gets away with one, and maybe it's just a little bit of cramp in the muscle or something like that. Let's hope it's that. But we just have to wait to see what the results of that scan is. Unfortunately, it's a really tight turnaround, isn't it, to the next game on Wednesday, which is unfortunate. Yeah. So hopefully it's nothing serious. Maybe you just throw Gravenberch in for that one anyway, just to protect Curtis, because these muscular ones, you just don't need any more of those, because Liverpool's injury list is already incredibly lengthy, isn't it?
Yeah. There's literally a whole 11 basically out at the moment. It's crazy. And I know we normally try and steer away from refs and comments and everything, but you knew I was going to ask you this one. Sinisterra on Luis Diaz, and you'll have seen it as well, all the talk that it's Curtis Jones again by Reds and that type of thing. Honest thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I think it's Kluivert, by the way. I think it was Kluivert.
Sorry, Kluivert, wasn't it? Sorry.
But yeah, I mean, I always, like I say, I don't try and defend refs, but always try and come with it from the perspective of why has the ref made that decision. But I think that is just so frustrating that one doesn't go for Liverpool, because I just think you're going to get inconsistencies between refs. I think people should be more accepting of that, because one ref will see things in one way. Some refs are a little bit more open to letting things go. So you aren't going to get consistency. So anyone who calls for that, I just think needs to let that go. But I think even accounting for some inconsistency, I think the foot stood that high up on the leg. You see the buckling in Luis Diaz's leg, which is exactly what they look for as a marker in a red card. it's very difficult for me to understand within the law how they've looked at that again and not awarded a red card, or asked the referee to at least have another look at it, because I think he'd have been called over. There's absolutely no doubt it would have been a red card. And obviously, if he'd have awarded the red card in real time, no chance of an overturn of that. So, the generous interpretation, I guess, is that Liverpool have been very, very unfortunate in that situation. And it's the only upside is it happens in a game that they ultimately win easily, and Luis Diaz comes away without having broken his leg, fortunately enough. So, but it is, it's so annoying, that one, because it just is. And I think Liverpool will. I don't know if you read Dale Johnson's column in ESPN that goes through the referee. Absolutely brilliant. I would recommend anyone to read that, to give them a sort of an understanding and the refereeing perspective on a lot of these situations. I would be surprised if that doesn't get chalked up as a missed intervention, because I just think it just fulfills all the necessary need for a red card, really. I'm just amazed it didn't get given at the time. I also think actually Liverpool, that they might consider was a missed intervention on a penalty on Diogo Jota as well. That looked to be right on the line. It looked like a clear trip to me, a clear and obvious error not to give it. I'd be interested to know what the discussion between the referee and the VAR, whether he'd seen it and thought, he'd seen it on the field and told them he'd seen what he'd seen, and he didn't think it met the threshold for clear and obvious error. I'd be interested to know. Like I say, the upside is that the Liverpool won it comfortably anyway, and they didn't get any injuries. But yeah, it's incredibly frustrating.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Dale Johnson publishes, but it's going to be hard to imagine it's anything but a 5-0 on the panel for that decision when it's looked at again. But we'll have to see. But 3 points, top of the league. The only net, we're just awaiting that injury news, aren't we? And praying, and obviously we'll come to injury news for other people at the same time later on in the pod as well. But player focus, I mean, there's so many, but one that, this sounds crazy, he almost is just not getting mentioned because of how well the Reds are playing at the moment. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it's true. Alisson Becker, another clean sheet, but again, an unsafe bystander, but didn't really seem to have too much to do. And the clean sheet seems to be racking up as he becomes less and less involved, to be honest. But how would you view his season overall? Are we still looking at the best in the world for you?
Yeah, not a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he keeps being overlooked for individual awards, doesn't he? Which I find to be absolutely incredible, particularly when I know Liverpool were poor last season, but they would have been far, far worse. They would have been at threat of relegation if they didn't have Alisson Becker last season. He was that good. And yeah, he's getting less opportunity to prove himself this season because, Liverpool are looking more solid, but he's still absolutely the best goalkeeper in the world, despite that fact. Maybe if Liverpool win something this season, he'll be back in the running for individual awards again, despite the fact he's probably been less busy over the season. It's just a strange one, really. But I think his season so far, he's never really, since he's joined Liverpool, let his level drop at any point. And I still think he's just that consistently world-class best keeper in the world at the moment. And I think, in the early part of the season when Liverpool, and this tends to happen under Jurgen Klopp, and it was more pronounced this season because of the sort of rebuild they've done in midfield, is that they don't always look perfect and it's not always as slick, and that high line can maybe be exposed in the early part of the season. Yeah. But then he was absolutely massive in terms of keeping Liverpool on track and getting results with some, he was busier in that part of the season, but it's getting to that point now where the team's really clicking into gear. We see this under Klopp so often the second half of the season. So, he is going to hopefully be a lot less busy over the remainder of the season, but he's still there, that presence if you need him, and he is absolutely world class. And I do think, it's kind of interesting yesterday, actually. He only makes one save in the entire game. Yeah. It's a pretty straightforward one. But the reason he only makes one save, you think of that Brooks chance right at the end where he goes to on goal. Liverpool have already, it's not really important because Liverpool have already got the game won, but he doesn't even have to make a save in that situation because he comes out, makes himself massive. And his aura is such that David Brooks completely miscues his chip finish, sends it completely wide. The goalkeeper doesn't even have to touch it. And that just says everything about Alisson. He doesn't have to make a save in that situation, but what he contributed in that moment is as good as a save. He completely put him off and made turned the finish into a shank, really. And that just sums him up. Even when he's not making a save, he's in the strikers' heads because of how good he is, and he's earned that reputation.
Yeah, he's just been sensational. The only thing, and I always wonder with this, does he get judged against Ederson? I mean, Ederson's sensational with his feet. We can't get away from that. I mean, you saw a few comments on Twitter yesterday about Alisson's kicking again. Is that just that he's not as good as Ederson? Do you think it's over-egged, that one? Or do you look at times and think he could do better, or we'll take anything because he's the best keeper in the world type of thing?
The thing is, he's not Nick Pope with his feet, is he? He's still, he might be a close second to Ederson, maybe. I mean, Ederson maybe is a little bit more of a natural football, but also as well, Liverpool fans won't watch every City game. They won't see sometimes when Ederson jacks one out, and also, he's left-footed, Ederson, as well, isn't he? So everything looks a bit more natural and a bit more nice when you watch a left-footer do it. I don't know. That's just something about football I always find. So. No concerns for me over his kicking. I think he's great with his feet, and he's even better with his arms. Actually, the throw, some of the throws out that gets Liverpool on the front foot, and he's kicking out of hand is unbelievable as well, isn't it? So yeah, I think he's a very capable footballer, and a big part of how Liverpool draw teams onto them. They use him quite a lot in possession, and they trust him in risky moments. So. I think he's more than capable with the ball at his feet, and the overall package is, as I said, world class, and for me, the number one goalkeeper in the world at the moment.
Yeah, no doubt to me at all. Now, interestingly, for all Alisson's done, the biggest debate on our Discord with all our subscribers this year has been the haircut and the facial hair with Alisson. So we've seen that he's got the Russell Crowe Gladiator one going on at the moment. It seems to be sported. We've seen full beard. We've seen slick back. He can just rock anything, Alisson, can't he? He's just one of those guys that annoyingly can just pull off anything.
Yeah, this is it. He's the best goalkeeper in the world. Seems like a really nice fella, and he's good looking as well. So he's the complete package. So yeah, fair play to him.
Yeah, literally can pull anything off. So yeah, fingers crossed. Another one that just needs to keep fit as well. And we've got to talk about the normal stuff, transfer updates, injury news, all the things that are going on and people want to know at the moment as well. Actually, I know it was yourself that wrote the piece, and people have naturally pounced upon that, the centre-back, Diomande at Sporting Lisbon, because naturally people are probably expecting, I think it's fair to say, a centre-back to come in with Joel Matip likely to depart. I know you've written about him. Personally as well, big fan of this fella.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
To be honest, I can't say I've seen an awful lot of him. I know it's true that Liverpool are looking at him. He's one of many potential centre-half options in the summer. They'd be completely remiss of them, wouldn't it, to not be looking at a player who is playing in a top 5 European league at this age and doing really, really well. So, he's obviously very good at the moment, but he's got room for improvement as well. And it, fits the physical profile that Liverpool look for. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I think, one thing I wanted to make clear in that piece is that, there's absolutely no guarantee it was going to be him, that he's one of a few options, and also not even actually an absolute guarantee that Liverpool sign a centre-half, by the way, because, we've spoken before on this podcast about the idea that, do you trust Jarell Quansah? Is Jarell Quansah, if you brought him in as the signing to replace Joel Matip, would that be considered good enough? And also, you've got Conor Bradley coming through on that right-hand side now. Does he become the Trent backup, and that allows Joe Gomez to just be a pure backup centre-half? These are decisions that the manager's got to make now, and I think it's not as clear-cut as people think. I know there's a desire out there to get a centre-half in, but if it maybe denies a role for Jarell Quansah going forward, then do people really want that? If we know that Quansah's good enough, and we don't know that yet, I'll always emphasise that they get a better idea in training. But if Jurgen Klopp thinks Jarell Quansah's good enough, then I'd want him to be the centre half signing, surely, because he's a local lad. He's come through the academy, he costs nothing. You can put that money elsewhere on the pitch, and the same with Conor Bradley at right back. If he is good enough to be the backup right back, and we're surely seeing that at the moment, then I want him to do it. I want the money to be spent in other areas if it's needed. So. It's just one of those where Liverpool are, keeping the ear to the ground, and they are obviously checking Diamande amongst many others, but no, absolutely no guarantees. I would say that they definitely sign a centre half, and we just have to see how that sort of plays out, because that sort of decision, you have to sort of make it by March time. That's the time when you really want to firm things up with agents and start making inquiries as to how much deals are going to cost. So. I'm sure we'll see something more concrete start to emerge on that in the next couple of months. But at the moment, as I say, they're just keeping their ear to the ground, seeing what's out there.
I mean, in a great way, and it is a great way, the longer the season goes on, the almost harder it is to predict Liverpool's summer business. You're just a bit unsure of what position they will be targeting. So, like you said, probably have a clearer idea later in the season. And I know you're about this one as well. And he's just not quite had the best of luck, Ben Doak, this season, but hope that he is back sort of April time. Is that right?
Yeah, so that's the one I wrote for This Is Anfield this week, is that, the hope is that he's going to be back for April, so his season is not over, which is great, because obviously knee surgery, you start to think that could be a season ender, but the hope is he gets back in around April. I mean, might be tough for him to pick up minutes at that point of the season if Liverpool are going well in all four competitions, because obviously there's a lot on the line and he's only a young lad. But if Liverpool can get up in games and bring him on and give him minutes in that way, then that would be great to see, because there's a lot of faith in him, and it's a real shame he's missed out on some opportunities with that knee injury turning up. So really excited to see him back, and like I say, hopefully get back for the season's end, and maybe just get some minutes here and there to show us all his potential.
Yeah, it'd be a real bonus if he can, for him more than anything as well, definitely. And naturally, there was an injury update, wasn't there, in the press conference on Friday? So everyone pounces on that, and we'll issue our normal disclaimer about what Jurgen Klopp says, and injuries and exact dates is normal. But it did sound good, didn't it? We wanted to hear about Szoboszlai, he was mentioned, Trent, and then also Robbo, and kind of a nod to Tsimikas as well. I mean, you were there, obviously, from what you took, is the hope we're going to see all of them, or is that too, optimistic quite soon?
No, I think there's an expectation that Robertson, Trent and Szoboszlai will be in training this week. I think that the main question is, obviously they've got a game on Wednesday, so does anyone do enough to put themselves in contention for that? The suggestion to me was that Szoboszlai is maybe the closest. I think he was unfortunate maybe to miss out on the game at the weekend. So, hopefully he could get Szoboszlai back for Fulham, which would be a big boost, just if nothing else, just to give a little bit more on the bench. Liverpool looked a little light there. It's great to see academy kids involved, don't get me wrong, but Liverpool looking light in terms of first team options on the bench, aren't they? So, if you could get Szoboszlai back for Fulham, and then I think obviously the other two to be in and around the squad for Chelsea, what a huge boost that would be. And I know the phrase, people don't like it, but to get 3 signings of that quality in the January window would be pretty good. And a couple of other players close to coming back as well. So yeah, let's hope that they all stay on track, and we do see them in training this week, because it's the games are coming thick and fast, and this squad's really it is a little bit of a breaking point at the moment. Can't afford to get any more injuries, so important to get some players back. Absolutely.
Yeah, there was 2 senior subs yesterday, wasn't there? The 2 Dutch lads, Gravenberch and Gakpo, and then they've done well, but you do start to worry, how often can we keep introducing kids? Are they all those types of normal questions that will come up? But probably like you, no one could escape the injury news for the main man, Mo Salah. That was announced at the press conference and firmed up with an official statement. Do you think that's been in the works for a while? Do you think Liverpool have sort of planned as soon as they heard it, we've got to get Salah back? And also, I suppose the one that I wanted to ask you, the fact he's coming back, does that make you start to think, it's really hard to see him going back out for AFCON? Or does it just depend on what happens?
Yeah, I mean, I believe Jurgen Klopp when he says that there's a possibility if Egypt gets to the final, or that he could possibly play a part. But I think it just makes sense, doesn't it, for him to do his rehab here? Liverpool's facilities, in Egypt, it's not like he's in an Egypt camp where they can really look after him. They're away. They're in the Ivory Coast. They'll be set up in a hotel somewhere. It's difficult, really, to do a full, the level of treatment that Liverpool will be giving him when they're out at a tournament. So, it's much better for him to come back and do his rehab here. And I thought as soon as he went down with a hamstring injury, I thought that's a tournament ender, because how many times you see a player get a hamstring injury in the tournament and make it back before the end of it? It's very, very unlikely. And I think, the likelihood is as well that by the time he's back and he's fit, that Egypt probably won't be in the tournament. They're now going to be without the best player. They haven't been convincing in this tournament so far at all. There's a chance that they even go out tonight. So, I just think it makes sense really for everyone that he comes back and undergoes treatment, and you just hope that it's not too lengthy one. And if from his perspective, obviously he'll hope that Egypt get through and he can go back. But I just think from purely selfish Liverpool perspective, you'd kind of hope that their tournament's kind of over soonish, and he can just get his treatment done and hopefully get him back on the pitch for Liverpool as soon as possible. And I think that the fact he's coming back now opens up that possibility of getting him back as soon as possible.
Yeah, we know Salah loves his country, and we've all seen the shots, but from a purely selfish perspective, we're all starting to think Chelsea, maybe Arsenal, and those types of things creep into your mind, don't they, as well? So we'll find out soon enough. And then the only other one really wanted to ask you around transfers or injuries and updates is more around the loan market, because that's been the biggest news really for January. Is there any sort of further updates on players potentially leaving? And Owen Beck obviously coming out yesterday, that limits his options now as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, so, in terms of other loans, so many of the academy kids were on the bench yesterday that I think Liverpool will be kind of reluctant to lose the ones who look the most likely for a loan at the moment. We saw Luke Chambers gone, but obviously that, owed a lot to Owen Beck coming back in. So Liverpool were swapping one for one really at left back. So that made a lot of sense. And so, in terms of potential candidates, I think maybe Harvey Blair is one to keep an eye on. I think he may be going somewhere between now and the end of the window. But in terms of other kids, can't really think of any off the top of my head. And you're right to say about Beck, actually. That is an interesting one. Obviously it means he can't join Celtic, which was something that was being suggested he might do. If Robertson and Tsimikas are back soon, maybe there's a possibility he goes back on loan to Dundee because he'd done so well there. I wouldn't rule that one out at all. But it was interesting to see him come on because obviously, as you say, Celtic were maybe in the mix for him there, and they've effectively ruled that one out. So I think that suggests that Liverpool didn't really want to lose him on a permanent, because there was an idea that Celtic wanted to sign him on a permanent. So maybe Liverpool, want to keep him around, and maybe, they have more control over his destiny if he goes back on loan to Dundee and plays more minutes there. So that's one maybe to keep an eye on between now and the end of the window, and probably owes a lot to sort of what happens with Robertson. Does he come back into training this week? How close is Costas? I think, if they are both as close as has been suggested, then maybe we do see Beck go out to Dundee, and I'm sure they will be absolutely delighted with that because he was flying for them.
Yeah, and we could really do with them back because, like you say, it's just such a short turnaround, which is great when you're doing well in the season. But obviously Wednesday, the Carabao Cup semi-final second leg, we take a goal lead to Craven Cottage. And then even this week, it's the FA Cup at the weekend at Anfield. It might sound too simplistic, but is it as straightforward as strongest team versus Fulham, largely kids against Norwich? Is that too simple, or do you think that's what they'll be opting for?
No, I agree. I think that's, particularly at the moment when they've got so many injuries, I just think it would be madness to do anything but that, really. I think we're going to see, as strong as Liverpool can go against Fulham, we'll see what happens with Curtis Jones, and then put out a really rotated side at the weekend. The hope is, as I say, with Robertson and Trent and Szoboszlai, can they be involved in some way in that game? Szoboszlai, maybe even Fulham. But, so you can, and you look at maybe Gakpo was on the bench last night. Gravenberch was on the bench still last night. So immediately, whoever's in that role against Fulham, they come straight into the team. And you're talking about using kids. Connor Bradley is flying at the moment. Owen Beck looked really impressive, I thought, when he came on yesterday. Bobby Clark might be in the mix for a start. So you could still put out a really strong team. And I think, to be at Anfield as well, Liverpool, you'd still fancy them even with a heavily rotated team. So kind of looking forward to seeing what that side actually ends up looking like. Could be really exciting with a few kids and players who need minutes as well to keep the rhythm up. So I still think it could be strong, but I agree that I think that's how the manager's going to go is, strong as possible. You've got to get through this Fulham game and then, some well-earned rests in there because I know they've just had the winter break, but it's just a difficult period at the moment with so many injuries and absentees to international tournaments. You just have to get through this period. So, hoping for a little bit of rotation there,
Would be good, definitely. Yeah, fingers, because we just can't afford any more realistically. And I know there's limitations in a lot of departments, but the one I did want to ask you, if we're going strongest team naturally against Fulham, we all thought Harvey Elliott would be the right-sided forward, didn't we? But it was Luis Diaz yesterday, and then Cody Gakpo comes off the bench, gets a great assist. The other two are knocking in doubles against Bournemouth. Who, if it's the strongest forward line naturally, who do you think that three will be?
I wonder whether, because of the way the second half went yesterday, whether he'll just stick with what he had as a starting point and maybe keep Gakpo in reserve really. I wonder if that's because I just think it looked a nice mix that yesterday. I know it didn't quite sort of click in the first half, but I just thought it completely got it together in the second period. And I think you got that combined goal threat of Nunez just being a handful in general.
Yeah.
He really brings something there. Jota's the deadliest finisher out of any of them. So he's that real goal threat. And then you had Diaz, who he's kind of a weird performance from yesterday. And I think this is happening a lot recently, actually. He ends the game with an 89% passing accuracy. Doesn't really create an awful lot of chances. Does it, not massively involved, but I actually don't think he plays poorly. I think he accepts that his role sometimes when he's in that front three is to be almost the Curtis Jones of the front three. So keep the ball, get it up there, progress it up the pitch, and then let the other guys cause havoc and they can lose the ball constantly because they're trying things. But Diaz is, keep it sensible, keep the ball, get others into good positions, make those offers in behind and come short when you need to. Just doing a really, really solid job in there. So I thought, those three as a mix actually looked really, really good, and they offered really complementary sort of qualities to the front three. So maybe you'll go and stick with that. And I wouldn't be upset to see that at all. Equally, if Gakpo comes in again, I thought he was good off the bench yesterday. We wouldn't be upset to see that at all. Or Harvey Elliott tried again in that right wing role. I know it's not quite worked out for him when he's been there, but I still think he's more than capable of playing there. So. I wouldn't be upset to see anything, but I think, my feeling at the moment is maybe, injuries permitting, he might just stick with that forward line that we saw against Bournemouth.
Yeah, especially away from home, it's going to be a difficult game. You just think Luis Diaz, the one who can work back both ways, might just be that foil might just be crucial. But yeah, it does face just another big one on the horizon as well. And we'll go to our normal questions from the viewers. There's some good ones, actually. There's got some really good ones that came in. The one I really liked, I've got to be honest, I'll start with, I know you'll have seen it, I'm sure you watched it, the under-18s, the FA Cup. I mean, they absolutely battered Arsenal, didn't they, in the FA Youth Cup? There's no two ways about it. So people look at the goals, look at the talents and all this. I suppose the natural things people will hone us or sort of focus in on, who out of those are you looking at and think they've got a real shot of making it for the first team at Liverpool?
Yeah, so I think one I should mention first up, he's not really a youth, an academy product in that Liverpool signed him this summer, but Trey Ione has looked really, really exciting since he's come in. Got high hopes for him. Liverpool signed him with a view to him, not being too far away from the first team really, and I think he's already showing that he's an absolutely quality player at that level, and it's not going to be too long till he gets starts to get promoted up and starts getting around first team training as well. So really excited about him. But I really like the look of Jayden Danns as well. He's sort of a different type of forward to maybe what Liverpool have had. I say that when you're very much used to Firmino being the starting forward, but I just really like the look of him. I just think he's a really high quality player, and I think ultimately, they might not get all of these into the first team. I think Ione out of them, I'm really interested to see how soon that happens for him. But I think, it's not just also getting them into the team, but some of these players just look like they're going to have careers at a high level, which, is massive for Liverpool in terms of generating money. It adds to the strength of the academy in terms of the appeal to bringing players into the academy, because look, we've given these players careers. It's not just, even if you don't make it at Liverpool, you can still make a career for yourself. And there's been a lot of Liverpool players who've got to high levels in the academy, thinking not too long about maybe the start of Jurgen Klopp's reign, where you look at maybe the team he put out against Exeter in the FA Cup. Not many of those ended up doing much, whereas if he put out a similar team this time around and, with pure academy products, you'd have Quansah and Bradley in there for a start. And then the likes of Naoni and Dans. Wow. And I think that, Lewis Kumas, that these have all got chances of really making careers for themselves, if not at Liverpool. So, the academy is just absolutely flying at the moment. And it is so exciting because you've got a manager who shows that faith, and it's just exciting to see these kids come through and show that enthusiasm and just show that the academy is working, and all the work that's been done by Alex Inglethorpe and his staff is now really starting to pay off. So it's a really exciting time, and looking forward to hopefully a couple more of those coming through and making an impact on the first team.
Yeah, no doubt. And if you've not seen the highlights, people, just worth watching of that 7-1, especially that Dan's free kick. I mean, that's absolutely deadly. So definitely have a quick watch of that if you've not. And probably the final question, I'm almost taking you back to something we asked earlier that I did want to discuss. McAllister obviously now shining. Endo, obviously, since December, unfortunately, he's away at the Pacific Cup, but really, starting to almost come to terms, I'd say, and look at a good player. Does your gut tell you this is Liverpool reevaluating the 6th position? Because naturally, if we go back to the summer, as we talked about, it was Caicedo, Lavia, all the things, and we were just expecting, and we thought Liverpool would definitely want that younger number 6 going forward. But with what's happening now, does your gut tell you that's maybe not quite even on the shopping list or as high as it was, so to speak?
Yeah, I don't think they will be in for a 6. I think that's been the noise out of Liverpool since the summer window closed, really, that, look, we got Endo, who was our sort of out-and-out number 6, and we believe in McAllister in this position, and I think they've been proven right on both counts. I thought Endo was fantastic before he went away from the Asian Cup, and if he's your backup go-to number 6, then he's absolutely capable of playing that role for Liverpool. Yeah. May not be absolutely world-class on the ball, but he's, everything else he does there is what you want from your number 6. And McAllister, I think he's now finally starting to find that rhythm of playing that role and doing really well. So, even the debate around McAllister is not being a natural number 6. What more could you want from your number 6 in his team than what he offered at Bournemouth yesterday? I just think it's madness that there's still this obsession around it. And I mean, particularly when you look at what Caicedo's done at Chelsea, and obviously we haven't seen much of Lavia at all because of injuries, but do you really feel like I think he's a fantastic player, don't get me wrong, but I think he wasn't playing as a lone 6 at Chelsea at Brighton, sorry. So it would have been a difficult thing for him to adapt to. Much similarly to Alexis McAllister, who's finding his way into how to do that. But he's performing far better than Caicedo is at the moment, and I think. I spoke to a source, during the summer window, who sort of said to me, you look out there at the European market for number 6s, and there actually isn't a lot out there, really. I know some of the names that were being thrown out, Sangare, who's not done much at all at Forest, definitely not good enough for Liverpool. The idea that he was being floated as a Liverpool signing, no chance. Florentino Luis at Benfica hasn't really pulled up any trees since a sort of semi-impressive season for them. So, there's not an obvious target out there who would completely transform Liverpool in that position. And what they've got there at the moment is absolutely working. I think McAllister's doing really, really well. So for me, well, not just for me, I don't believe a 6 will be on the shopping list this summer at all. I think Liverpool think they've solved that issue. There will be other areas of the team that they will maybe push to strengthen before that because they think what they've got is good enough. And I tend to agree with that view.
Yeah, absolutely. There's, in a good way, transfers is quiet, but I know people love transfers, but it's because the team's doing so well, obviously. They just want to keep people fit and get people back. That's the aim at the moment. And they're top of the league by 5 points, and there's a Carabao Cup semi-final with one foot in Wembley coming up on Wednesday. So, Reds, if you're listening, if you're not excited still, we can't really help you much more, to be honest, can we? But all it really leaves me to say as ever is, David, thank you for your time and your insights. It's much appreciated as ever.
Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. And ladies and gents, that was another Media Matters for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
Tired of ads barging into your favorite news podcasts? Good news. Ad-free listening on Amazon Music is included with your Prime membership. Just head to amazon.com/ad-free news podcasts to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads. Enjoy thousands of Acast shows ad-free for Prime subscribers. Some shows may have ads.